there could be a negative if you make more out of it than it is. It's a nice little run. You get in as the 7th seed, maybe the 6th seed. Doubt it, but who knows? Um, you can't overinflate that and say we're close.
Mac guys, yeah, I'm Birch 365. The countdown is on to a matchup against the Cowboys. And I'm sorry. Excuse me. I had to yawn with the game coming up against the Cowboys and the Eagles, which is unfortunate because you want every Cowboy-Eagle game to have a ton of meaning, and it's just not there for the Philadelphia Eagles. And my continued surprise that all my fellow football insiders have this utmost respect for the Dallas Cowboys, which I don't understand. And when Derek Barnett makes his biggest play of the year this week by rolling the ankle of Dak Prescott, who apparently is supposed to start for the Cowboys, and you get Cooper Rush against the Eagles next week, we'll see if the Eagle experts here continue to say, well, they match up badly against the Cowboys with Cooper Rush at the helm for the Cowboys. Disrespect for Brady. Anyway, kudos to you, John McMullen, watching the video of Coach Sirianni yesterday. Martin Frank, the outstanding reporter that he is, went directly to the first state, a.k.a. Delaware, who he writes for. And he said he picked up on the tape on Sunday, Jalen Hurts calling out a play called Delaware, or signifying a play called Delaware. And Nick Sirianni got a grin on his face like the cat who ate the canary and said, yeah, we got a little too close to the cameras. That happens if we have to scout the TV tape after the game to make sure things like that don't happen, that people who we played down the road aren't picking up on our calls. But sorry, Martin Frank, it's got nothing to do with you. It's got nothing to do with Delaware. But I'll tell you right now, we won't be calling that play Delaware anymore because now everybody knows that play is Delaware. And he gave Martin a half-baked answer, and then you followed up with a question to do him a solid. Like, what else can we look for, Coach? We all have to pay that much more attention to the TV tape now? And he actually got a kick out of it. So I tip my cap to you because you guys, I know, were both a competing but tight-knit group, and you did a solid for our boy, Martin Frank.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty clear that, well, no, I like Martin. Everybody, we get along, but I just thought it was pretty clear. I was about halfway through that particular press conference before it was my turn, and it was pretty clear by that point Nick wasn't going to give you anything about the playoffs. So I said, well, what's interesting? And that was interesting. And that's the kind of thing Nick likes to talk about. And what I like about Nick is he gives you information. He tries to educate fans. He tries to give them explanations. I like that as opposed to some other coaches. We'll see how long.
If you let me interrupt you for just 1 second, I'm sorry. I apologize. I don't believe that. I believe both he and Gannon, and they're a lot alike in this way. I think they like you guys. I think they respect the job that you're doing, and they're trying to give you nuggets to be able to do your job. I don't know that he's looking to educate anyone. I think he's just a good dude who wants to help out the guys who are working hard covering the Philadelphia Eagles.
No, that part's true. Yeah, we have a good relationship with Nick Sirianni and Jonathan Gannon. So that part of it is true as well. They try to help us as much as possible to help us do our job. But he likes talking about football, and he likes talking about the intricacies of the game. You know, you've seen it in the past when he, that sort of play that blew up, the Zapruder film play against the Giants. He gave a long explanation as to why the screenshot that you probably saw over social media didn't mean that much. He, Same thing with the Dallas Goddard screenshot a couple weeks ago, where he's wide open in the end zone. Somebody, hey, Dallas Goddard's wide open. He explained in detail why he wasn't wide open in the quarterback's progression, because of the coverage that was employed by the Giants, and they blew the coverage. And the quarterback doesn't come into a play with a default setting. Hey, they might blow the coverage completely. No, they're in a position to stop Dallas Goddard, so you move on to the next progression, and then your head's the other way, and you don't see the blown coverage over there. He does that all the time. So he likes talking about the intricacies of football. So I think it's probably all of it. He does like to educate fans. He likes to help the media, and he likes talking about ball, as he would like to say.
He is a ball coach who does like to talk ball. All right, in giving your answer about that play against the Giants, where it looked like Dallas Goddard was the most wide open player in the history of the National Football League, but it wasn't necessarily a mistake that the quarterback made. I do want to ask about the quarterback. After the game that he had this past week, John, I'm up to 95% that Jalen Hurts is going to be the quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles. The 5% that I have left isn't even the bad games that he's had, and the Giant game was one of them. The open guys that he's missed, bad passes, not accurate enough. The 5% that's left for me is for, as you like to call them appropriately so, FU players. Could Russell Wilson actually come on the market and have Philadelphia as one of his destination places, and the Eagles have the draft capital to get him? If they can get Russell Wilson, I think they have to investigate it. I don't think Deshaun Watson is going to be over his legal battles by the beginning of next year. And you're going to want to make a trade for him at some point. You don't want to trade for him on September 1st and say, all right, throw him in, let's go. After a playoff season, that's not going to be acceptable. I don't know if that's going to actually come to fruition, that he's going to say, yeah, I'll accept a trade to Philadelphia. But you have to keep the door open for a few players just in case. But that's all it is to me now. It's down to 5% out of the 100% of who's going to be the Eagles' starting quarterback next year. I was tremendously impressed with Jalen Hurts this past game. I know his numbers weren't huge, but the Eagles will run the ball. So he's never going to pass for 3. It's going to be very infrequently. The Eagles are going to have to be down 21-0 in the first quarter for Jalen Hurts to throw for 350 yards. They're just not going to do it, because that's not the type of team that they are. I'm up to 95% Jalen Hurts is going to be their quarterback next year. What percentage would you say you're at right now?
I like that percentage. I don't like when we agree. We agree here. It's about 95%. I said that. I'm leaving the door slightly ajar for that type of player you just mentioned, most notably Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson. Watson more than even Wilson because of his age. Again, and I hope everybody knows I'm talking about it, Deshaun Watson, who was over his legal issues. So if he's not, that changes obviously the whole situation. Where I do believe the door is closed is the draft. It's still early, but it's becoming very clear that there isn't going to be that guy that shoots up the board that people love to the degree that they think is going to be a certain franchise quarterback. Maybe that changes by the Senior Bowl. We'll see. I doubt it. So I think you can close the door on the draft until next season. But, Damo just said there's nothing negative about a playoff appearance. I'm going to slightly disagree there, and I've said this in the past. There could be a negative if you make more out of it than it is. It's a nice little run. You get in as the 7th seed, maybe the 6th seed. Doubt it, but who knows? You can't overinflate that and say we're close, because we just mentioned those teams, and we're all arguing, well, who would you rather face? and maybe they can run for 200 yards. Well, guess what? They're going to be significant underdogs against all 4 of those teams. They're not close to being a championship, and they're certainly not close to the Green Bay Packers, who's not even going to play on the first weekend. So you can't overinflate that and say we're closer than we really are. And I've said for a while now, this decision at quarterback is not as difficult as people think it is. I think, there was this weird, okay, he's getting a year to prove himself. No, it doesn't have to be a year. Could be 2 years, could be 3 years. And if they can get better, they will get better. If they can't, they won't. And that's where I think the Eagles are. But I think they have to keep the door open to realize, because I'm watching that game, Jody. You brought up he's never going to throw for 300 yards. He could have thrown for 300 yards against the Washington football team. They were bad in the secondary. Devontae Smith was getting open. The Eagles didn't want to go away from their game plan of running the football. Understandably so. It wasn't as effective. They had some wide open receivers. Now, part of it is the receivers. We spent some of the first hour talking about, who's number 2, Quez Watkins or Jalen Reagor. Who cares, really? They both stink. Greg Ward, I know he's your guy. All right. I don't care. Play him instead of Jalen Reagor. What do I care? It's not going to help you. Maybe it's the best you can get.
It's not, is he going to help you? Is he going to help you more than Jalen Reagor? That's the only question you have to answer, John. Not is he a tough
Yeah, but I'm talking about.
The only question is he going to do more than Jalen Reagor? That's all you have to ask. Stop the question ends right there.
But we're talking about something different. We're talking about the future now. My point is, you got to get better. Whether it's Reagor, Watkins, Ward, JJ, you got to get better. As I said, I wouldn't be adverse to blowing the whole room up outside Devontae Smith and turning the whole thing over and bringing in all new receivers. That's how bad it is my point. So you do have to put that into the equation of why this team is not a high volume passing team as well as the quarterback. But man, Devontae Smith and Dallas Goddard are always open. Always open. And you think about it, Jody, they shouldn't be, because nobody should be concerned about the other receivers. You bracket Goddard, you could bracket Devontae and say, okay, go beat me, Quez Watkins. Go beat me, Jalen Reagor. Go beat me, Greg Ward. That's what you should do. They're still open. So those players are really top tier. I would say Goddard's already top 5 tight end in this league, and Devontae's on his way. And if they ever get a higher volume passer, he'll probably be in the top 10 receivers very, very quickly. That's how talented he is. So you have to leave the door open. You have to leave the door open and say, if we can get better at the quarterback position, if it falls in our laps, and you got to pull the trigger. You can't overinflate this playoff berth. But I'm with you. As far as 2022 goes, 95% Jalen Hurts is back as the starting quarterback.
The only way that I could see him regressing is if they happen to match up in the playoffs against Tampa Bay, and he can't beat that Brady guy who has been continually disrespected on his show over the last 2 days. Who, oh, by the way, he's still got Mike Evans and Rob Gronkowski. Yes, I understand Godwin is done for the year. Yeah, and Mr. Brown walked out and threw his uniform into the stands. I don't know how much of a hindrance that actually is. He's a talent, and Brady likes him, but I don't think the drop-off production from him to anyone else is going to be all that great. Somehow those two guys, Evans and Gronkowski, who have combined for 18 touchdowns this year. 18. Which 2 Cowboy players have 18 touchdowns? I'm not sure there's anyone that have those kind of numbers. But
well, let me go. When the Eagles beat the Jets, what did we say? after that week? What did everybody say? Not
It's
me.
the Jets.
Yeah. What the hell? Why did Tom Brady and the Bucs have so much trouble with the New York Jets?
Well, until they needed to, and then marched it down the field, 80 plays with a minute and no timeouts left.
But
He
if
did
they're
the same
that
thing to the Jets
good,
he did to the Eagles. He toys with you until he needs to stick a needle in your eye, and he does just that.
again, I'm not criticizing Tom Brady. I'm criticizing his supporting cast at this point. That is my criticism. It's not as good as it once was. That's all. I mean, to just wipe out Chris Godwin and who is the third down guy, and say that's not valuable to Tom Brady, especially at this stage of his career. Who, let's be honest, he dominates in the middle of the field. That's what he does better than anybody else. Uh, Playoff Lenny, to say that's not an impactful loss, I don't know. I think it is. He's been he was a big part of their Super Bowl run. Certainly hasn't lived up to his draft status when he was coming out, but he was a big part of that run. Um, Rob is Rob Gronkowski, first ballot Hall of Famer, but he's not what he once was when he was in New England at the height of his career. He's not. I would say Dallas Goddard is a better tight end than Rob Gronkowski right now.
Do you want to compare the numbers?
Um, no, because he is a high volume quarterback, and I don't think Again, which numbers are you talking about? We can go film numbers. We can go statistics. Again, Dallas Goddard is
usually I equate numbers to statistics.
Yeah, but receivers are at the mercy of their quarterbacks. We know that. We talk about that all the time. Devontae Smith's numbers aren't very good, but you're aware that he's a good receiver when compared, and when I say not very good, to high volume receivers, guys who put up these extraordinary numbers like Jamar Chase. I mean, look at Jamar Chase's numbers compared to Devontae Smith. You'd say, well, Jamar Chase is a heck of a lot better than Devontae Smith. He might be better. He's not a heck of a lot better, but he's got a quarterback that can throw for 525 yards one week and 400 and whatever yards the next week. I mean, that's part of it, Jody.
I understand that. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have a guy who's thrown for more yards than anyone in the National Football
Yeah,
League.
and here's the key.
Again, this year.
Here's the key, and nobody can answer this question. What would Dallas Goddard's numbers be with Tom Brady throwing the football? I don't know, but I know they'd be better. And I think they would be better than Gronk's at this stage of his career. I think that. I can't prove it, but I think it.
Understood. But the real debate we're having is the Bucs or the Cowboys. Would you like to compare Gronk's numbers to any of the Cowboy tight ends?
And no, the Cowboys have good tight ends, but certainly not at that level. But the Cowboys' issue is more the receivers, obviously, and with Cooper and Lamb. Even though Gallup is down, they have impressive depth with Cedric Wilson as well. So they're, everybody's got strengths and weaknesses. When it comes to playmakers, their strength is more the receivers than the tight ends. It's when Gallup is out there, it's probably the best receiving group. I don't know if it's the best anymore, but it's still top 5 with Cedric Wilson.
Right. I like Cedric Wilson. He's a nice player. That's one thing Dallas has is some depth at the wide receiver position. All right. We started the show talking about the 12 Eagles ending up in the COVID protocol yesterday. You maybe just slightly more heavy-handed than me. I'm not disagreeing with you, John. Are suggesting that the Eagles have kind of gamed the system and gotten guys into the COVID protocols so they can get them back out before the game this week, possibly, if not, certainly before the game next week when they're in the first week of the playoffs, and then they don't have to worry about them again for the rest of the year. They do not need to be retested. Once you have tested positive and been cleared to play, you don't have to test anymore for the rest of the year. And yeah, that's kind of a plus for the Eagles at this stage. And both you and I agree that they figured that out and figured it was time to get a bunch of guys tested. And if you test positive, it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. It gets you out of being tested again the rest of the year. But they do have a couple of positions that kind of left in the lurch this week. One of which is running back. We know that Jordan Howard isn't 100%. He sure as hell didn't look like 100% running on Sunday. And Boston Scott also tested positive. We know that Miles Sanders isn't going to play. The coach did tell us that yesterday. And he didn't even tell us that. He said, well, I'm not going to make a final designation, but it's pretty likely that he's going to be out this Saturday against the Cowboys. Where are they going for running back for this game, John? Are they going to, and God, this will give you guys so much ammunition. Are they going to get beat 45-0 by the Cowboys this Saturday?
Well, if they keep everybody on the COVID list, they might get trucked. I don't know about 45-0, but it could be ugly. It could be. We've seen these games, and you've seen how ugly. Whether it was Ian Book in New Orleans or Jake Fromm with the Giants against the Eagles.
No, but the Eagles got Gardner Minshew. He's the man.
Yeah,
he was great against the Jets.
That's true, and he's better certainly than Sean Mannion or somebody like that who you got to see on Sunday nights if you're watching that game. But some of these COVID games have been really, really ugly, and yeah, that'll be the case here. It might be, as I said, Kerryon Johnson and Jason Huntley running the football. The reason they have these oversized practice squads is for this very example, and you just bring those guys up. And look, other than Jason Kelce, because of the streak, I think wants to play probably a series or two. They might sit all these guys. And if they sit all these guys, you're going to see all those practice squad guys elevated, and you're going to see the Christian Ellises of the world, the Raekwon Williams, Jacoby Stevens, Mac McCains, Cameron Malveaux, Jared Maidens, Deion Keynes. Those players, that's who you're going to see. Your favorite Eagles.
All right. Let's just give the listeners, viewers, a little tutorial on roster manipulation. On Saturday night, the Eagles roster will be numbered at what? How many players?
47.
47. You are allowed to have how many on your roster, which means you got how many inactives?
It depends who's healthy, who's on the COVID list.
On a normal week, sans COVID or whatever else.
Yeah, 6.
6. So it's 47 to 53. If you have players on the COVID list, you can just add players from the practice squad directly onto the active roster and go above and beyond 53 players, correct?
Well, no, because you're always at 53 because remember the guys on the COVID list. So all those guys don't count against the 53-man roster.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So your number is always 53 if you want to get to 53, if you want to get to 51, if you want to get to 50, whatever, as long as you have enough players to play. But you can't go above 53. But all those guys are wiped off, and that's why you could bring the COVID
right.
practice.
That's why I'm saying players who are. It's not like if Jason Kelce. Well, we won't use Kelce because I think you're right. I think they're going to try and get him in so that he can keep his streak going. Fletcher Cox. I think there's very little chance that Fletcher Cox is going to play this week. He's going to still be on the Eagles 53. He's not going to be on their 47. If you're saying, well, he's not on the 53 if he's on the well, yeah, but he is. It's not like he's being cut. So you're not taking him off the 53, you're just putting him to the side of the 53 to expand the 53. And that's what getting players on the positive COVID list does for you. It gives you more roster flexibility for the last week of the season. A week in which, yeah, you want to give us some more of those practice squad names again? Some of which I didn't recognize. And I should know everybody on the Eagles practice squad.
We got, what do you want? What position? You want offense?
Offensive
defense?
line.
Offensive line, we got who do we got? We got the best name on the Eagles, Coyote Awasika.
Yeah, we tried to move him onto the roster a couple times this year and didn't get it done.
Yeah, you got Luke Juriga is back. You got Casey Tucker back for the 57th time. So those are your.
And the 6 or 7 cornerbacks that they've got on the list.
They don't have many corners on the list because they have most of the corners. The Kerry Vincents of the world and the Tay Gowans and the Josiah Scott. They're on the 53. They
Already
just
actually on
usually.
playing special teams. How about Jacoby Stevens with a big tackle this past week?
Yeah. Michael Clay brought him up. I asked him a question about Sean Bradley, who's injured, and Andre Sacheret, who was on the COVID list and still is. No, he got activated yesterday, actually.
He's the only one. 12 went down, 1 came in. Sacheret was the only guy who got reinstated.
But they were the two. They're the two best special teams players the Eagles have. Sean Bradley was actually a Pro Bowl alternate as a special teams player. So yeah, Jacoby Stevens got an opportunity because those guys were out. So did Josiah Scott, Kerry Vincent as well. One of those corners. Mac McCain, our buddy, we got to get him on. Mac. He's the only corner on the practice squad right now.
Because when I said practice squad, I meant practice squad and/or guys who are getting deactivated way too often on a continuous basis, because that's what happened with a bunch of guys that they have on the 53-man roster as of right now. Just see if you go with me on this one, J-Mac. I believe the Eagles released from the practice squad yesterday. Maybe they had another guy. Their backup kicker.
Yeah. Matt McCrane, another Mac.
Yeah.
There's too many Macs.
Another guy.
Mac McCain and Matt McCrane. Say that.
Couldn't pick either one of those two Macs out of a lineup if you gave me a head start, as a matter of fact. So I'm guessing that the kicker yesterday, Mr. Elliott, was not told to go over into the COVID test line. They didn't want to take a chance with him that he was going to get a positive test and not be able to get cleared in time. So they told him, no. Go to the room with the quarterbacks. We got a 4-room setup down there. We got 3 quarterbacks in each room. You take the 4th room by yourself. He had no chance of testing positive yesterday because they kind of need him, right?
Yeah, they worked out a punter this week and a couple weeks ago as well. So they have it in the back of their minds that if one of the specialists tests positive, you have a list, and Matt McCrane is the guy. They've already signed him twice, released him twice. So if it was an emergency situation, they just bring him back, obviously, and elevate him. But the rules are easier now. So again, they'll have Jake Elliott test Monday of next week. I guarantee you the whole team's going to test. And if he fails, if it's a positive, he should be able to be back by game day anyway. So that's how they're going to handle everybody, not just the specialists, the quarterbacks, everybody. But you're all going to get guys who test positive. And that's why I said on Monday of next week, Jody, we're going to be doing this show, and there's probably going to be some panic. Tuesday, because it'll happen Monday afternoon. So our Tuesday show, there's probably going to be a little panic around Eagles Nation. I'm trying to calm them right now. Don't be concerned about that Monday COVID list.
Except the one thing you got to be careful of. We didn't know till after the Sunday action was over that the Eagles were playing a Saturday game. And there will be a Saturday game next week, first day in the playoffs as well. A Saturday game and a Monday game. We've got the Monday game, there's no issue whatsoever. You got plenty of time, the 5 days to get back. But